Wow, you guys, RFK Jr. just dropped a massive bombshell. You have to check this out. And if you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe so you don't miss none of the new videos.
Amongst our guests, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is just getting dressed right now. We want us to buy a little bit of money. Oh, he is dressed. All right. He also is independent candidate. As you know, he's going to play a key role with the Trump administration. Should there be a Trump 2 on Tuesday, and should we get a verdict actually on election night? That'll be great. So, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. So, I know you've lived a lot of your life in Washington, D.C. What did you make of the fact that the Washington Post announced inexplicably on Friday, we're not going to endorse a candidate? And then Jeff Bezos has come out and he said, you know what? We want people to decide on their own.
The Washington Post, when I was little, did not endorse candidates, and it only started doing that recently. The problem I have with the Washington Post is the bias in the newsroom.
Front page.
Right, because traditionally you would have an unbiased reporting by the New York Times and the Washington Post, and then the editorial board would meet and vote, and they'd endorse a candidate, and there was supposed to be a Chinese wall between them. But in recent years, they have become blatantly partisan, and I think that's a tragedy for the news because there's really, there is very, very few sources of nonpartisan news left, except, of course, right here.
All right, there you go. Good answer.
How do you feel, though, about the media at large, though? Painting the Trump supporters that you were at that event in New York, at Madison Square Garden. They're painting them all as Nazi supporters, as racists. And this used to be your party. It used to be the part of inclusion, of open debate, but that's changed. Why?
I'll tell you guys this. People in the United States that are under a political party, and if it's the Democratic Party, they're tired of their division, they're tired of their lies, they're tired of blaming everything on the other party. It'd be different if these people were taking responsibility, accountability for what they're doing. But these people do not want to take accountability for what they're doing. They're dividing the whole entire country. You know, you have all these little they they slowly do it. You have all these little groups. You know, now you have so much censorship online and you can't do anything. I'm telling you guys, it starts with these little groups. I don't want to call the groups out, but now there's all these weird communities. We are America. We are Americans. That's all there it is, and that's all it needs to be, guys. Let's keep going.
Yeah, at the beginning of this campaign, I made a statement about Anne Frank during a speech, and I wasn't referring to saying anything reminded me of Nazism. I was talking about the rise of totalitarian systems of AI and facial recognition that give totalitarian systems the capacity to control so much of our behavior and to surveil us. And for about 5 months after that, I was called an anti-Semite for invoking the Nazi era. And here you have the leading Democrats in the last couple of weeks and the press. MSNBC has been really appalling.
Insane.
Mm-hmm. And the vice president, and there's no link between, I don't even think Madison Square Garden existed in 1939.
Right, it came 1968. It moved to Penn State.
Right, so they're invoking this 1939 meeting of Nazis, and they're saying that somehow this is a reunion. And you go in that, there was a joke made during the speech by one comedian, and the crowd. I was in the crowd at that time, and they groaned. These were not,
no one was laughing.
Nobody was laughing, and there was so much joy in the room, and optimism, and patriotism, and idealism about our country, and it was the opposite of Nazism, and the need to use that most evocative and explosive and incendiary and poisonous reference. And it's being used across the top ranks of the Democratic Party. It's Hillary Clinton, it's Kamala. I think it's bad for our country. And by the way, so many of us, when we were kids in this country, were asked to consider the moral quandary. would you, if you could go back in time, would you kill baby Hitler before he could do all the damage? And most of us answer, yeah, we would do that. So when you compare an American political figure to Hitler, who was about to become president, the kind of people who are, who are already a little unstable, you're really suggesting to them that this man should be killed before he gets into office.
President Trump brought that up yesterday.
And I'll tell you guys, that is the most disrespectful thing ever. How how can you say that about a person? I hate when you disagree with a Democrat. They never wanna they never wanna tell you any facts. They just want to insult you and put you down and make you just look like a crazy person. But if me being a Republican, talk to a Democrat and they're like, "Oh no, I don't respect this, I don't respect that," I don't get mad. It's like, okay, don't worry, you will see, you will learn. That's what I say every time. Like, don't worry, because engaging in these type of people is almost like a curse taking over these people in the last 10 years. These last 10 years of Democrats are just insane. But if you go people way back when, it wasn't really bad to vote for a Democrat. It wasn't really bad for it. But nowadays, if you vote for a Democrat, dude, you might as well just sign your soul over, because these people are gonna have you in a little 360 loop, just have you just over with. I'm telling you, man. Let's keep going, guys.
He goes, you guys going to get me shot again. And he goes, when I was younger, my dad told me never bring up that word, Nazi, in my house. And now I'm being called it. And he said, you're going to get me shot again.
Right.
By the way, they did a study. They said, how many people have a great deal, if not a fair amount of trust in the media? Only 31% said yes, they trust the media. That was at 40% in 2012, and it used to be over 70%.
When my uncle was president, it was 85%.
85.
Wow.
When you had Walter Cronkite and people like that, and the media is really focused on telling the truth to the American public.
When your uncle was president, 6% of Americans had chronic disease. Now it's 60. Add a zero to that.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about this. You walked in here and you gave everyone in the audience these Make America Healthy Again hats. As a mom, as Americans, we appreciate what you're doing, because we're getting older and we're thinking about, we want to live a long life. We want to see our grandchildren. I want to see my grandchildren walk down the aisle. You go to Europe and you might eat pizza in Italy and you don't feel bad and you don't gain weight. We want to know why that happens here in America and what you're going to do. But first, let's play the soundbite. This is Donald Trump at the rally at MSG.
Look, we're not going to let him go too crazy, Elon, with the oil and gas stuff, and because Robert F. Kennedy cares more about human beings and health and the environment than anybody. And he's going to be absolutely, having him is such a great honor. I've been friends of his for a long time. And I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines. The only thing I don't think I'm going to let him even get near is the liquid gold that we have under our feet.
What was your reaction to that?
Well, he always says that.
How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about Trump putting him ahead of that? Our health. How do you really feel about that? Because I think even if RFK Jr. doesn't win presidency one day, but I think he needs to be in charge of something. I think we need to see his leadership actually displayed under Trump. I think we need the chance to be able to see that. We need to see Trump's whole plan unfold in the most beautiful way as possible. And I think RFK is the perfect person to be ahead of what he's ahead of. That's just me. Let's keep going, guys.
And I get it, but what he's right is, we have the sickest children in the world right now. There's nobody in the world that has that. When I was a kid, the autism rate among American children and in 70-year-old men today, in my generation, is 1 in 10,000. In my children's generation, it's 1 in every 34 kids, 1 in every 22 boys. And the diabetes, a typical physician, when I was a kid, would see 1 case of juvenile diabetes in his lifetime, or a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. And it's costing us $4.3 trillion a year. It costs zero we paid zero for chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today, it's the biggest expense, 5 times our military budget. It's easy to fix. We have 1,000 ingredients in our foods that are illegal in Italy and other countries in Europe. And the reason for that is corruption. At the food industry and the agriculture, big agricultural producers control FDA. And so they're not worried about public health.
And these people that control that are trying to control this election are the same people supporting Kamala Harris. That's why she's trying to ban red meats and have us eating bugs and all types of stuff. A bug burger. Come on, man. That's enough of this video, guys. But I really want to ask you, what do you think about Trump putting him ahead of everything? You know, health. Do you think he's going to make America healthy again? Do you think if we keep letting people like Kamala roam the city, roam politics, do you think that it's going to end well for us? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. And as always, let me know what you react to. We're out.